So I just basically read what it has to do with the definition of surveillance capitalism, its genesis according to J.B. Foster and according to Robert McChesney. I think there's a lot of particular findings and interesting information that repercutes in our daily lives as we speak as of 2022. Let's have really quick and brief definitions of these four forms of capitalism and what we understand of capitalism through this presentation, okay? So what is capitalism? According to Rosser and Rosser, it is an economic system based on two sides, labor and capital ownership. These two combined can generate products and services in order to produce profit for the capitalists, in order to produce profits for the one or the ones who own or have inherited the means of production. That's basically the idea. Some of the general characteristics include capital accumulation. We can have more money as time goes by. We can set the price, we can configure the markets, we own intellectual property, and we determine as capitalists, well, not me, but the capitalist owners, they can even determine how much do people have to receive as income for their labor. What is monopoly capitalism? According to, as we read, as I read before, according to J.B. Foster, according to McChesney, Suisi, and Baran, which is the quote we're seeing right now. I'm gonna make a parenthesis in here. Suisi and Baran were founders to a monthly review magazine, which was later directed by J.B. Foster. I think it was like almost for 2 decades. So there were huge inspiration for these two authors. So monopoly capitalism has to do with Martian theory, and it makes this assumption. A competitive economy is associated to giant corporations, and they basically determine how they can accumulate capital, how they can produce capital, and all the power is concentrated in few companies, not in a whole lot of companies, but in such few monopolistic sort of oligarchic companies. That's how can we understand, like, in such general way, monopoly capitalism. I highly recommend you guys read the book by Suisi and Baran, which is correspondent interchange between these two fellas. So it's really interesting to understand that. So we have some of these examples. If we speak about tech companies, of course, we can speak about the ones I've mentioned before. But for example, in China, state-owned companies or state-operated companies such as Alibaba, Tencent, Huawei, ByteDance Limited, they pose really a role into the monopoly capitalism as we can understand it today, nowadays. What is cultural capitalism? It is a construct proposed by Pierre Bourdieu in the 1970s, in the 1977 more specific, and it speaks to the ways in cultural aesthetics such as dress, as language, as textile, as rites and rituals, art, intellect, socio-cultural production, etc. Of the dominant class is being taken as the right way to do things, to learn things, to say things. For example, nowadays we have in continental America, in the Americas, as the United States and as the Americans say, we have this language imperialism, which is using English as a formal way or as a formal mean to express ideas. For example, here in Mexico, we use a lot of English-based phrases, English-based ideas, even though our national language is Spanish, and we have a lot of different languages, around 400 languages, dialect that are recognized, but we choose to speak in English. That's language imperialism, and that it was imposed by the United States as a worldwide dominant strategy, and we people don't necessarily know that that's happening. All right, so this is cultural capitalism according to Pierre Bourdieu, created in the 1970s. Finally, a very brief definition again of what is surveillance capitalism. I'm going to read it. It says, an economic system centered around the commodification of personal data with the core purpose of profit making. A scheme in where human liberty, autonomy, and well-being is put in danger. Here I'm quoting, I'm referencing, Shoshana Zuboff and Foster and McChesney. I think if we stick with Zuboff's definition, that's gonna work pretty fine, because she's the one who has been more famous at the end of their road. Okay, so this is surveillance capitalism, and this is a really interesting slide, the one we're seeing right now. Some ways to generate and collect data. I'm putting just information that comes from 4G, 5G connected cell phones, 4G, 5G connected tablets, for example, or laptops also. So they hold at least 14 ways of collecting our data. I'm gonna mention just a few. For example, the Bluetooth antenna, the Wi-Fi antenna, the virtual keyboard. Almost no tablet or cell phone has physical keyboard, so it's easier for them to collect our information through the virtual keyboards. Nowadays, cell phones hold at least, for example, 3-4 cameras. So there's a lot of ways that we are giving our data for free, and we're paying for that. That's ironic, but we're paying for that. So again, I'm asking these questions. What do transformers have to do with surveillance capitalism, and how is the United States Army and General Motors, how are United States Army, General Motors, and transformers related? Well, United States Army is one of the biggest spenders in Hollywood. They spend a lot of money. They put their money in the war-related movies, in the army-related movies, and Transformers, they hold a lot of money that came from the United States government, specifically from the US Army. So basically, Transformers is a state-sponsored film which helps preserve and diffuse cultural capitalism, hegemonic cultural capitalism from the United States. All right, so here we have the same slide, the same meme we saw at the beginning, and we know now why it's sort of funny, but it's hugely wrong. Because tech companies don't spy on us. They give us their channels, such as web pages, platforms, apps, and we give them our data. That's as simple as that. Google do not spy on us. Facebook do not spy on us. Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, etc. They do not spy on us. We are allowing them to gather our data through their apps, their web pages, their platforms. And of course, no fucking body reads terms and conditions, okay? And it has become really, really interesting how data specificity has become nowadays. For example, here I put a screen capture about an app that collects your data while you sleep. It's not while you're awake, it's not while you're using your cell phone, it's while you're sleeping. You're allowing them for data collection through or regarding how many farts you have through the night, how many times you snored, how many times you spoke, how many times you ghost talked. Why do people in the industry, in the technological industry, care about how many times an individual farts while they sleep? Well, it's money. After all, it's money, okay? Later they can sell you through pharmaceuticals, through hospitals, treatments for solving your farting issue while you sleep. Anyway, so I'm gonna make a small pause in here in order to have a quick recap. These are the 8 basic points that are present in Foster's text. And if you're watching this as a scholar, as an academic, you can work with your alumni regarding 2 questions. They're appropriate to do these 2 questions at this time. What do you or your alumni remember about the reading? What is the most interesting or revelating information? At this point, I usually use a video which is easily to be found on YouTube. Speaking Devil. It has to do with a journalist called Marta Peirano, which is one of my favorite authors.